our question, discuss the causes and consequences of the military confrontation at SEDAN, 1870 to 71. So in this case, the question is about the Franco-Prussian War. So you must have the ability to understand issues concerning about the Franco-Prussian War. Without knowing SEDAN, without knowing the exact year on which the Franco-Prussian War took place, you cannot understand. Altogether. So we are saying the battle at SEDAN was also referred as the Franco-Prussian War. It was the confrontation between France under Napoleon III and Prussia under Bismarck. It was the last event in the unification of Germany. So in this kind of arrangement, we need to understand the causes and consequences of the military confrontation at SEDAN. In other words, what led to the military confrontation? In this, number one, the historical differences between France and Prussia since 1792. We are realizing France and Prussia had what you call historical what? Differences. You remember at one time there was a war between France and the rest of Europe. And this kind of arrangement, Prussia was on the side of Austria against France. So historically, France and Prussia had differences. It was because of the historical differences between France and Prussia that later led to the confrontation at where? At SEDAN. Because of their differences historically, this pushed them into a war. Another one, the violation of the Paris verbal agreement. What happened? At one time, Bismarck had to fight the Austro-Prussian War. But before this war, he signed an agreement with Napoleon III of France, promising that Napoleon III, if you are neutral in the Austro-Prussian War, I'll give you South German states. What happened? Of course, Napoleon III was neutral in the Austro-Prussian War. Of course, in this war, Bismarck of Prussia defeated Austria. And by this time, Napoleon III went to Bismarck and told Bismarck, congratulations, I have got the good news that you have defeated what? Austria. Now I need my what? Territory, the South German state. Bismarck asked from Napoleon III a written document. He told Napoleon III, where did we write? And by this time, you remember, it was a verbal agreement. And by this time, Bismarck refused to honor the agreement. He didn't give Napoleon III the South German one states. It is this that led to conflicts between France and Prussia, and this led to the confrontation at SEDAN. Altogether, another key aspect, we are saying the struggle for supremacy between Prussia and France. We are realizing Prussia and France were fighting over supremacy, where France wanted to be superior than Prussia. Even Prussia wanted to be superior than what? Than France. It is this that pushed them into a great battle, and thus leading to the confrontation at SEDAN. Another key aspect, Bismarck's effort to unify Germany. I can tell you today, there is no way Germany was going to get its unification without fighting France. Because France had interest where German had influence altogether. So it is this that led to conflict between France and what? And Prussia. You remember at one time, Bismarck had secured the North German State Sea, but he was remaining with some part in the South German what? State Sea. And they were under the influence of France at one time. So it is this that led to the confrontation between France and what? And what? And Prussia. And of course this led to the battle at where? At Sedan. Another one, Napoleon's failure in France and Europe made him to declare war. What happened? It is said Napoleon had so many problems at home. At home he was losing support. You remember at one time he wanted to be like his uncle Napoleon I. But of course he could not match his greatness. And by this time, this made him to mess up so many things altogether. And by this time, in a bid to convince the French that he was strong, what he wanted was to fight against Prussia, to defeat Prussia, to prove to the people in France that he was what? He was strong. And by this time, this led to the military confrontation at where? At Sedan. Another key aspect, Italian support to Prussia. When Italy supported Prussia, this gave Prussia an upper hand altogether. Prussia felt what? Strong to go ahead and fight against France at Sedan. Mind you, even Italy was in a great struggle of fighting for the Italian what? Unification. And by this time, we are realizing that Italian support gave Prussia an upper hand. And this led to the confrontation at where? At Sedan. You must respect the language of the question. By the way, I'm still emphasizing, when you're writing history, you need to honor our kasoma faruq of Uganda philosophy, which says, Africa. Attempt all of the required what? Questions, follow instructions, read extensively, improve on your handwriting, concentrate on your work, and attend to God. Of course, one God altogether. So in this kind of arrangement, you need to honor all these. Another one, we are saying the influence of Queen Eugenie Marie, who supported the war at a time when Napoleon III had so many problems. You remember when Bismarck changed the EMS telegram and he circulated it in all of French newspapers to make people support the war. Because for him, Bismarck wanted a war between France and what? And Prussia. And by this time, this led to the military confrontation at where? At Sedan. What's all about this? I can say at a time when Napoleon III was bedridden, when Napoleon III received a letter from Bismarck, the letter landed into the hands of Napoleon, but he was very sick. Now, Eugenie Marie said, let me read it. And by this time, Eugenie read it, and it was like Prussia was abusing Napoleon the third, because Bismarck had changed the wording of the letter. And by this time, Marie said, this is my war. She declared the war against Prussia. Moreover, Prussia was more organized than what? Than France. And this led to the military confrontation. At where? At Sedan. Another one, the economic and military reforms in Prussia scared France. It is said militarily Prussia was rising on a very high note. It is this that made France to declare war against Prussia, because France wanted to be militarily stronger than what? That France wanted to be militarily stronger than Prussia. And this led to the military confrontation. At where? At Sedan. Another key aspect, the influence of Bismarck, who was instrumental in the occurrence of the war. Bismarck, a man of influence, by this time, he convinced the people of Prussia that it was necessary to fight against what? France. Because there is no way Germany was going to get its unification without fighting a country called what? France. And this led to the military confrontation at where? At Sedan. In this kind of arrangement, the public opinion in Prussia was in support of the war, because by this time the people of Prussia wanted the German to get its what? Unification. As the public opinion supported the war at Sedan, it is this that led to the military confrontation at where? At Sedan. Because by this time the public was supporting, these were taxpayers altogether. Since they were supporting the war, this influenced the occurrence of the what? Of the war. Then the success of Prussia in the wars against Austria. It is seen in the Austro-Prussian War, Prussia defeated what? Austria. As Prussia defeated Austria, it is this that made Prussia to feel confident and went ahead to put a situation of war, and this led to the military confrontation at where? At Sedan. Because Prussia believed that it was militarily what? Strong. Changes rising up. Another one, the changing of the EMS telegram. It is seen, you remember at a time when there was the Spanish throne crisis, problems arose. Where I can say, when Isabella was overthrown, of course the throne was given to King Leopold. And in this kind of arrangement, who was a relative of it was a relative. No, we are saying Leopold was a relative of the king of where? Of Prussia. And in this kind of arrangement, we are realizing this brought conflicts between Prussia and what? And France. But later, we are realizing William I wanted a relationship between France and Prussia, had to write EMS apologizing to what was taking place between France and what? And Prussia. And by this time for him, Bismarck wanted a war between France and Prussia, because Bismarck, a tactical politician, realized that there is no way Germany was going to get its unification without fighting France. For him, he wanted a war. But William was doing what? Apologizing. The hard question is, could apology bring a war? Of course, no. And by this time, the letter landed into the hands of Bismarck. Bismarck had changed the EMS telegram to appear as if William was abusing Napoleon the what? The Third. And by this time, it is said, Bismarck has circulated this EMS in all of French newspapers to make the people in France agitate for a war. And that's what Bismarck wanted. And by this time, when the letter landed into the hands of Napoleon III, he was bedridden. And the wife Marie had it reading. The wife, after reading the EMS, declared the war against what? Prussia. But by this time, Prussia was more organized than what? Than France. So we are realizing in this kind of arrangement, we are saying the Spanish throne, the changing of EMS telegram, it's our hard point. Yeah? As they changed it, it is this that led to the battle at where? At Sedan, military confrontation. Another one, we are saying the role of von Roon and von Moltke. I can tell you, these ones were driven by fighting von Roon, von Moltke, great fighters. It is said because they were great fighters and they fought in the Austro-Prussian War, they gave confidence to Prussia. And by this time, Prussia had to put a situation of war, which led to the battle at where? At Sedan. Then, the failure of Napoleon III in the Mexican adventure, 1861 to 67. What happened in the Mexican adventure? At one time, France gave some loans to Mexico altogether. But of course, a man full of arrogance, Joeris, failed to pay the money. It is this that led to the war. At one time, nations allied together to fight against Mexico. But it is said at one time, countries withdrew. But France did what? Remained. But what happened? In this kind of arrangement, we are realizing it later. He was using a lot of money in Mexico. Later, because of the pressure, withdrew altogether. And he was defeated. This technically meant that he was what? Defeated. And what happened? This made him to get a backlash at home. People were rising up against him. You have used a lot of money in the war altogether. And in this kind of arrangement, you are bringing defeat in our country. It is this that led to the battle at Sedan. Because Napoleon III wanted to prove to the people in France that he was what? He was strong altogether. And this led to the military confrontation at where? At Sedan. Then, of course, the role of King William I. William led to the battle at Sedan. Confrontation at Sedan. Why? Because in this kind of arrangement, it is William who wrote EMS, which was changed by Otto von Bismarck and created a situation of war. So we are saying also William was a factor in leading to the military confrontation at where? At Sedan. So I can tell you the military confrontation at Sedan meant the Franco-Prussian War. So this means you need to know the word, the approach altogether, the years, and of course the lead names, because failure